Welcome to Initiation Exposure for being face to face with the organization feature. Vedas are written on rays of the sun. It is this feature which is the ultimate feature of exposure. Sadhakas fulfilled with intensity of urge shall sit comfortably and to transcend within the cavity of one's own heart and to be face to face with the existence phenomenon within human frame. This existence phenomenon is parallel to the existence phenomenon of our solar universe. This happening of existence phenomenon within human frame and within solar universe is lively within rays of the sun. Surya Rashmi is the source formulation. It is this formulation which deserves to be visited time and again. This formulation leads us to value 13 plus 17. This value is equal to 30, which is parallel to the value of Sahita. The formulation Surya Rashmi Sahita gives us a TCV value 60. This value 60 is parallel to the organization of domain boundary ratio of hypercube 6, the representative regular body of 6 space. We know that domain boundary ratio of hypercube 6 is a raised to power 6 is to 12 b raised to power 5. There are 12 multiplied by 5 equal to 60 are the coordinates of coordination of the transcendental boundary. Transcendental boundary of solar universe is today's focus. Chase Focus-2 is transcendental boundary of solar universe. It means hypercube 6 as it is enveloped within a transcendental boundary of 12 components. These 12 components are of 5 space setup, therefore it leads to value 60 as the coordination for the transcendental boundary. This value is equal to Surya Rashmi Sahita. Surya Rashmi Sahita is of TCV value 60. Now Surya Rashmi is of TCV value 30. Therefore, if we are upon the setup, now this is the transcendence range. The transcendence range, which is of values 13, 14, 15, 16 and 17, it gives us value 60 at the periphery for the central value 15. Hypercube 15 means a hypercube of the order of the solid dimensional frame of 5 space. There are 5 solid dimensions, value is 15. Now this dimensional frame as a domain of hypercube 15 will lead us to value 13, 14, 15 and 16 as a value of hypercube 15, which is the value is 29, and 29 is equal to 29 plus 29. This value is 58, and it is equal to the TC value of Krishna Dwapayan. It is the 28th transcendental designation of Maharishi Vyas. It is the 28th name of Maharishi Vyas. Therefore, it is the ultimate format of the organization which is availed by Maharishi Vyas to organize Vedic knowledge during 28 Dwapar Yugas of one Kalpa period of a day and one Kalpa period of night. This day and night, two Kalpa periods are of 14 Manvantars each. There are 28 Manvantars. Now these 28 Manvantars in each Dwapar Yuga, so in each Dwapar Yuga, Maharishi Vyas organizes Vedic knowledge. Therefore, during this period of one day and a night of 28 kalps, this Vedic knowledge stands organized 28 times. It is this organization which is to be chased by us. This chase phenomenon is the phenomenon of the existence within rays of the sun. Our first focus, chase focus, has been existence phenomenon within rays of the sun. So what is happening within Surya Rashmi is being chased. It is this chase which is going to be our first focus. Sadhakas have to sit comfortably, and one is to permit one's mind to be face to face with as to how and what, in which way and in which number of steps the happening within rays of the sun. Existence within rays of the sun as a phenomenon, as an happening, is to be glimpsed. Focus, first focus, main focus, principal focus, primary focus of the present chase has been chase focus 1, all about the existence within rays of the sun. Now, this chase will take us to the next step, the second step. It is going to be chase focus 2. This chase focus 2 is transcendental boundary of solar universe. It would mean that we have to remain at the transcendental boundary of 12 components of hypercube 6. In other words, we are in hypercube 6 as it is enveloped within a transcendental boundary, and our focus is to remain upon the boundary. This focus as such is to remain, that means we will be focusing upon a transcendental boundary of 12 components. These 12 components are to remain our focus. Now we have to remain at a boundary itself. Now this boundary as such is boundary of a Surya, and Surya Ank means value 21. 21 leads us to 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6. 21 is equal to 22 minus 1. That means if there is a range of 22 points, then we will be having 21 gaps. Now These 21 gaps of the range of 22 will help lead us to a organization. 22 is equal to 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7, which is a fourfold manifestation layer of hypercube 6. Therefore, it is 6 space domain, 6 space content, which is being enveloped within a 5 space content. It is this feature of the transcendental boundary which is to remain a chase focus. Therefore, hypercube 6 domain means the domain fold of hypercube 6 is of a 6 space content. Now within this hypercube 6 domain, we will have simultaneous manifestation for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, means the representative regular bodies of one space to one space, means one space to one 6 space content will simultaneously manifest within hypercube 6 domain. It would mean that the 6 space domain as it is going to be swapped by a Sthapatya miring rod as a synthetic setup of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 bodies. Now it is the Sthapatya miring rod. Now here we know that 4 space is playing the role of dimension of a 6 space. Now this 5 space means 6 space as a domain. It is enveloped within a transcendental boundary, means 6 space content is enveloped within a 5 space content. It is Akash Tattva, it is the 5th element. Akash Tattva means the 5th element. 5th element means the Akash is space, and it is enveloping Surya. The space which is enveloping Surya, or space within which 6 space Surya is the center, is the origin. Our focus today as Chase Focus-2 is upon the transcendental boundary. This transcendental boundary means 5 space enveloping 6 space. This 5 space as a value 5 leads us to the 5th element, that means the Akash Tattva. We know the first element is Prithvi, second is Apa, third is Agni, fourth is Vayu, and fifth is Akash. Now Akash Tattva is enveloping. Now formulation Akash Tattva leads us to TC value 8 plus 21, 29. We know value 29 is the value of formulation Brahma, the overlord of real 4 space, which is in the role of dimension of 6 space. Further, we know that formulation Visphot is also of TC value 29. One may have a pause here, and one shall sit comfortably, and one is to be face to face with the enlightenment phenomenon of Lord Brahma meditating within the cavity of his own heart at the transcendental seat and acquiring, attaining, gaining the transcendental grace. This transcendental grace multiplies Brahma as 10 Brahmas. It is this reach, it is there because of a transcendental cavity at the heart, means at the seat of origin of a 4 space. Here is a transcendental cavity. In this transcendental cavity, there is a seat of a 5 space, a solid order space. It is this solid order space. Now 4 space will be creating 6 space, and 5 space will be creating 7 space as an origin of a 6 space. Now 5 space is playing the role of dimension of a 7 space. As such, the transcendental boundary, this 5 space, when will be stripped off, it will be dimensionalizing the outer space as a 7 space, means it will be taking us to a pole star. Therefore, a reach from the transcendental boundary is a reach to a pole star. Pole star is playing the role of an origin of a 6 space. So pole star is playing the role of origin of our solar universe. It is this feature which is to be appreciated and it is to be comprehended. First feature is that this makes Dwadas Adityas, these 12 boundary components, as transcendental boundary, means there are 12 transcendental boundary components, and these transcendental boundary components will be making Dwadas Adityas formates. These are also making Jyotirling. So, one feature of transcendental boundary is that it makes Dwadas Jyotirling, and the other feature is these make as the Dwadas Adityas. Now, formulation Dwadas Aditya is of TC value 41. Value 41 accepts an organization as 13 plus 15 plus 13. Now, pair of dimensions of value 13 synthesize as value 15. Now, value 13 is equal to 2 into 6 plus 1, which is parallel to the geometry's range of 6 space, 13 geometries of 6 space. And value 15 takes us to the 15 geometries range of 7 space. This way we see that the transcendental boundary as Dwadas Adityas will be leading us to parallel organizations of 13 geometries range of 6 space and 15 geometries range of 7 space. With all these features available to us, and with this focus of the 13 geometries range of 6 space and 15 geometries range of 7 space will help us appreciate that 7 space is playing the role of an origin of 6 space. Further as that the 5 space in the role of a boundary, when it is stripped off, it dimensionalizes the outer space as a 7 space. So it is this inward expansion and it is the outward expansion which is simultaneously unfolding, and it is this simultaneous unfolding process which deserves to be comprehended well. One is to be face to face with this simultaneous unfolding process. For it, let us see that the creative order of 6 space is leading us to 11 transcendental phases set up. It is like this, that we know 4 space plays the role of dimension of 6 space, and minus 6 space plays the role of dimension of minus 4 space. Now, reaching from creative order to negative self-referral order, we are having 11 steps. It is this 11 steps which are the 11 transcendental phases. Now, these 11 transcendental phases, because of the creative order of 6 space, is the feature which deserves to be comprehended well. Further, in respect of the transcendental order of 7 space, we know that there are going to be as many as 13 transcendental phases, as 5 space as dimension creates 7 space, while minus 7 space creates minus 5 space, and it leads us to 13 transcendental ranges. You see, 7 space is having 15 geometries range, and it is creating transcendental phases 13. So 7 space is creating 13 transcendental phases, and it is creating 15 geometries. Now it is this feature which is to be comprehended well. Therefore, these features as these are ultimately taking us to these concepts. First concept to be comprehended is compactified origins. Second is of geometry ranges. Third is of transcendental phases. Fourth is of a Divya Ganga Parvaha. And fifth is the transcendental cavity of the creator's space. If we are face to face with these 5 conceptual steps, with these 5 conceptual steps, we can be face to face with what is happening within the rays of the sun. So within the rays of the sun, this ray itself is compactifying the origins. We know within 4 space, 5 space is playing the role of an origin. This origin, as it is, will get coordinated with the next phase and stage. Origin of transcendental domain itself means the 6 space. So 6 space as an origin. So 5 space as an origin gets coordinated with 6 space, and this sequence continues. It is this continuing phenomenon of coordination of the compactified origins. So these compactified origins are coordinated along a ray, a Rashmi. Now it is this coordination along the ray, a Rashmi, which itself is of a TC value 17, and this has 15 as a dimension. Therefore 5 space is of a solid dimensional order of value 15. Now it is this dimensional order of 5 space as the origin of a 4 space, having placement at the cavity, transcendental cavity of creator's space, it will be creating Rashmi. So this creation of a Rashmi is the phenomenon. So the creator's space, within creator's space, at its transcendental cavity, at the seat of a transcendental origin, at the seat of a transcendental origin within the transcendental cavity is a solid dimensional frame of 5 dimensions availability. And this solid dimensional frame of 5 solid dimensions of value 15 as a domain will be creating Rashmi. It is this creation of the rays of the sun. It is this feature of the creation of the rays of the sun is the feature with which we have to be face to face. The transcendental boundary of self-referral domain with transcendental origin of the creator's space, which is playing the role of a dimension of 6 space, brings us face to face with as to what is to be comprehended and what is to be glimpsed by us, and how the present focus, the focus chase Focus-2, it is the focus of the transcendental boundary. So how the transcendental boundary is on the one hand is a dimension of 7 space, and on the other hand is playing the role of an origin of a 4 space, while 4 space itself is a dimension of a 6 space. It is this coordination, it is this organization, it is this feature which deserves to be comprehended well by us who are anxious, who are fulfilled with intensity of urge to be face to face with the existence phenomenon within rays of the sun. So the first chase focus had taken us to a Devanagari Varanmala. We had seen that sadhakas fulfilled with intensity of urge to be face to face with the existence phenomenon within rays of the sun had to initiate, had to proceed starting with a Devanagari alphabet format. However, when we are at chase step 2, in this chase step 2, our focus is going to be to have a chase of the transcendental boundary. Now, for this chase, we have to have a mathematics. This mathematics is the mathematics of Ganita Sutras and Upsutras. The Ganita Sutras text is a 16 hymns, and this together with Ganita Upsutras 13 hymns, it makes a setup of 29 hymns. Value 29 we know is the value of Brahma, Creator the Supreme, the overlord of a 4 space. Further, we know that these 16 hymns are availing 283 letters, and these 13 sutras are availing 236 letters. It leads us to a total value 519. Therefore, we have to be face to face with this organization feature of Ganita Sutras and Upsutras, whose mathematics is to be availed by us to be face to face with, to have a complete comprehension, to have a complete attainment of a chase focus 2 of the transcendental boundary of the solar universe. For it, let us begin with Ganita Sutra 1. The text of Ganita Sutra 1 is Eka Adhikain Purvain. This formulation is of 2 parts. The first part is Eka Adhikain and second part is Purvain. The first letter of the first formulation is the 6th vowel. It takes us to value 6. The second formulation is leading us to, in terms of its first letter, of TC value 5. As such, the mathematics of Ganita Sutras and Upsutras will be the mathematics of the reach at the solar universe 6 space as a domain, which is enveloped within a transcendental boundary of 5 components. Therefore, we will be having 6-dimensional frame as of 6 creative dimensions of value 24, which is parallel to the Purusha. Therefore, this mathematics will, in terms of its domain, to take us to the Purusha format. So, as is the existence phenomenon within human body as a Purusha format, this is going to be the mathematics of the Ganita Sutras. Then we know that the 5 space is having 5 solar dimensions of value 3 each. It will be taking us to value 15. And we know value 15 is having 13 as its dimension. It will be taking us value 28, which is the value of the gaps of the 29 values range. Means the total value of 29 hymns as 29 structured points range, leading us to value 28. As such, our reach in terms of this mathematics is going to be reach from Purusha to Brahm. It is this reach for which we are urging. It is this reach for whose enlightenment we are initiating ourselves. This is the range. This is the situation. This is the challenge. And it is this challenge which, in terms of this mathematics, is to be worked out with the focus upon these triple values. The value 283 as it is availing a value 2 and 3, and its gap is being bridged by value 8. See, if we are having 1, 2, 3 and 4 as a hypercube 3, then we know here 1 will lead us to value 8, and here 4 will also lead us to value 8. Therefore, if we want to bridge the gap between this value 2 and 3, then one way is to bring this value in this side, and other way is to reach from this side. In both ways, we will be reaching at value 283. We will coming to this feature as to how the gap between the pair of values 2 and 3 is to be bridged. It is this feature, it is this mathematics, it is this format which is ultimately being availed by Vedic sciences and Vedic technologies. And it is this mathematics, these sciences and these technologies which are simultaneously flowing out of the existence phenomenon within rays of the sun. And it is in terms of this mathematics, this range of sciences and technologies that we have to reach at, and we have to replicate the existence phenomenon within the rays of the sun. Now, let us be face to face one basic feature, and this feature is going to be that when we are having a particular domain enveloped within a boundary, here boundary enveloped is 5, transcendental boundary, and domain is going to be 6. We know 6 space is having 4 space in the role of a dimension and 2 space in the role of dimension of dimension. Here we know 5 space is having 3 space as dimension and 1 space as dimension of dimension. Now 6 space we know is leading us to 12 boundary components, and 5 space is leading us to 10 boundary components. Therefore, at its boundary there is a 12 place value system, while at its boundary, where 4 space is playing the role of boundary, here is a 10 place value system. Therefore, we have to approach this transcendence within 5 space along its dimensional frame. Then it will be along the 10 place value system, and it will be giving us a value 1, then it would be 30, and it will be 500. It is this value 531, which is one of the 6 values of the triple digits. 1, 3, if we are 1, 3 and 5 triple digits, then it would be one of the values. And like that, when we are at 6 domain, then we are at 12 place value system. Here would be value 2, here will be value 48, and here will be 144 into 6. Now, these are the values. at which we will be reaching while we will be transcending or ascending within 6 space domain. However, these would be the values when we will be transcending or we will be ascending within a 5 space domain. Now, we are having a transcendental boundary. This transcendental boundary means 5 space, and here we are having 6 space. This is having 3 space in the role of dimension. Here is a 4 space in the role of a dimension. Therefore, when there would be a transcendence within 5 space domain, this transcendence will be sequentially taking us to 5, 3 and 1, and we will be glimpsing here a 6 space as the role of origin. Or when we will be transcending within 6 space, we will be having a glimpse of a 7 space as an origin. Now, it is this transcendence of 1, 3 and 5 which is to reach within the origin of 6 space. So, glimpsing of 6 space would mean a reach by having a transcendence along 1, 3 and 5. This value 1, 3 and 5 as it is will transcend within the value 2, 4 and 6, and in the reverse order there would be an ascendance. Now we see when we transcend from 1 to 3 it will give value 31, and 3 to 5 it will give us value 53, and it is making value 84. This value 84 we can see that when 5 space transcends out, it creates 7 space, and there are as many as 12 boundary components, and it will be making value 84. One shall have a pause and see how the transcendence from 1 space to 3 space to 5 space within 5 space domain in first phase is creating value 31, and in second phase is being created value 53, and it makes a total value 84, which value is equal to the total strip off, the entire transcendental boundary having a strip off and having a complete dimensionalization of the outer space as a 7 space. Now in the reverse way, when we are reaching from 5 to 33 and 3 to 1, it will be leading us to value 35 plus 13 is equal to 48. It is this reach of value 48 which is equal to 2 into 4 into 6. That means this way we will be creating 6 space. Therefore 7 space is getting 6 space in the role of a boundary. One shall sit comfortably and permit the transcending mind to be face to face with this phenomenon of transcendence from the transcendental boundary, and ascendance in terms of the transcendental boundary is in the one way creating us value 84, and another way we are creating value 48, and these are the reflection pairs, and summation value is equal to 132, and it is equal to 11 into 12, and it is the format of 1000 transcendental designations of Lord Shiva, the transcendental Lord. Shiv Shahistranam Stotram, 1000 transcendental names, 1000 formulations of the transcendental domain organized as Shiv Shahistranam Stotram is the organization which is the happening of the transcendental phenomenon, and it is this transcendental phenomenon, transcendence within 5 space domain and ascendance within 5 space domain are the features which are to be taken, which are to be absorbed. One is to be face to face with these features of transcendence within 5 space domain and ascendance from and within 5 space domain. And this phenomenon is to be had a parallel visit for transcendence within 6 space domain, 6, 4, 2, and ascendance within this domain. This will take us to value 46, and it will give us a value 24. It gives us a value 17, and here we will be getting 42, and we are getting value 64. But when we are having a 12 place value system, then it will be getting 2 plus 48 is equal to 50, and here we will be getting 4 plus 72 is equal to 76. It gives us value 126, and it is the value of the organization format of Vishnu Puran. Vishnu Puran is a scripture of 6 ansh, and it is an organization of 126 chapters. This way we see that our Chase Focus-2 is a focus upon the transcendental boundary of a solar universe. Chase step 1 had been our focus upon the existence phenomenon within rays of the sun. Chase Focus-2 is a focus upon the transcendental boundary of a solar universe. In the next Chase Focus-3, we will be seeing the simultaneous transcendence and ascendance within 5 space domain and transcendence and ascendance within 6 space domain, and how this phenomenon gets unified. It is this unification of the transcendence and ascendance phenomenon within the transcendental boundary and self-referral domain which is to remain our Chase Focus 3. Thank you very much.